Hi, Lori and Lincoln, and any of the kids that are going to be using Mom's machine. Um, this one is real similar to your machine, and uh, the operation should be pretty much the same. There will be a few differences. I think that your slide plate, instead of folding up like this one, I think it pulls out this way. And I believe that you have a knob here on the bed that we'll talk about later. And it's possible that your tension assembly may look slightly different, but I don't think it'll make too much difference. But we're going to go through how to wind the bobbin, how to thread the machine, how to work the various controls, and get you guys up and sewing. So we're going to start by winding a bobbin, and your bobbin is down here in the bobbin case. There's a little lever on the front of the bobbin case. Make sure that your needle is up out of the up. Hold the little lever on the front of the bobbin case and pull it on out. That little lever, besides being a convenient handle, also holds your bobbin in the bobbin case so that it can't drop out while you're moving your bobbin case around. So let go of that lever and your bobbin drops right out in your hand. This is your bobbin winder over here. Over here. And to wind a bobbin, put your thread on the spool pin, go between the discs of the little tensioner for the bobbin winder assembly. You'll feel when you have a little bit of tension there. Put your thread through any one of the little holes on the side, going from the inside of the bobbin out. Then hold on to that little tail of thread and put several wraps around the bobbin. And that will hold the thread in place while you wind. And your thread is going to come over the top of the bobbin as it winds. That's the direction it will wind in. So push your bobbin onto the bobbin winder, and there's a little there's a little keeper on the bobbin winder that fits into a little slot on the side of the bobbin, and you'll feel it when it clicks into place. Press the whole bobbin winder in towards the hand wheel, and the little release finger will drop down into the bobbin. And then as the bobbin winds, it'll slowly push this lever up until when it's full, it'll release and stop winding the bobbin so you don't get a tangle of thread all over. So take up this little bit of slack here. In the center of your hand wheel, there's a chrome knob that is your clutch knob. Turn that towards you about a quarter of a turn or so until you feel it hit its stop. And then the hand wheel can spin without cycling the whole machine. I think on this machine, since I didn't take the hand wheel off and oil it yet, the needle might go up and down a little bit, but it doesn't matter really. So with that clutch knob disengaged, give it a little bit of gas. No reason to go fast. You'll see the bobbin winding back and forth. And that should be about enough for a demonstration. Reclutch your machine by tightening the hand knob, not over tight, just snug enough that your just the whole machine works without slipping. Flip this little release lever up if it hasn't already flipped up, and when you put your bobbin in the bobbin case, your thread's going to come off the top of the bobbin in this direction. So drop your bobbin in the bobbin case, and there's a little slot right here in the side of your bobbin that the thread's going to go up into, and just keep pulling it up till it goes under this flat leaf spring on the side, and that's your lower tension. So you'll feel a little bit of drag on the thread when you pull on this, and your bobbin will turn in a clockwise direction inside there when you pull on the thread. There's a little finger on the top here, and that goes into a slot down here on your bobbin race. So that's going to be pointing up, holding that little lever on the side of the bobbin case. Slip it right in, and that, make sure your needle is up. And that little finger goes into the slot there, and the whole thing kind of clicks into place. And just let the thread dangle. To thread the machine, you put your spool on the spool pin. And bring it into this notch on the top of the face plate in the back here. There's one on the front and one on the back. You want the back one. And directly between the discs of the tension assembly. All the way around to the top again. Over the top of this big thread guide, back down to catch your check spring, which is this little thin spring here. With the check spring, you're going to go from front to back through the take-up lever. This is the thing that pulls each stitch up tight. For the take-up lever, you're going to go into the little thread guide on the face plate, down through the thread guide on the presser foot, and then you're going to go through the needle from the left to the right towards the inside of the machine. And when you thread your needle, always cut a nice clean end on your thread, because those little tiny frayed edges will push your thread away from the needle hole, and it'll be terribly frustrating. Raise your needle up just to make it convenient to reach, and into the eye of the needle. Holding your thread, turn the hand wheel towards you one full turn, and that's going to take your needle down. The needle's going to take the thread down, where the hook will pick it up and wrap it around the bobbin and bring up your lower thread. There's your lower thread. Put the thread between the toes of the presser foot and towards the back of the machine. And now you're ready to sew. Hold your thread for the first couple of stitches, and then off we go. Stitch length, forward, reverse, forward, reverse, forward. short stitches, long stitches. This knob here is your upper tension assembly, and this is what controls how much tension there is on your thread, which controls how tightly each stitch gets pulled up. If your threads are loose and loopy on the bottom, it means that you probably need a little more tension, and you turn it clockwise to tighten it. If it seems like it's too tight and it's puckering the fabric up and you need to let it off a little bit, turn it counterclockwise. Usually you don't have to turn it very far, just a little bit. I usually, when I restore a machine, I set it so the correct tension for normal fabric is around 3. So start out at 3 on your tension. If yours even has numbers, some don't. But anyway, that's your gauge. You know, look and see if it looks like it's well balanced. The top stitch pulls the bottom thread up, and the bottom thread pulls the top thread down, so they meet in the middle of the fabric. So you shouldn't see the upper thread on the bottom, you shouldn't see the bottom thread on the top. Well, maybe just a little tiny dot in between each stitch, but the correct stitch, you don't see the top thread on the bottom or the bottom thread on the top, and the stitches lay down nice and snug against the fabric. That's your tension assembly. And that's about it. That's about all the controls there are to this machine. Your machine probably has a knob right here on the bed, which is your feed drop. The feed drop is for if you want to do patching or darning or machine embroidery, or if you just want to make art. Any reason that you want to be able to move the fabric by yourself without the machine moving the fabric. Turn that knob to drop the feed and release the tension or the pressure on your presser foot, and then as you sew, you'll be able to move the fabric yourself. If you're doing art or machine embroidery, you want to get an embroidery hoop, which is like it's like a little drum head. You put your fabric in it and clip it together, and it holds the fabric taut so that it makes a nice neat pattern on your fabric. So I'm going to send you a user manual for a machine like this, and it will tell you how to oil your machine. And you're going to want to oil your machine probably, if you use it fairly often, once a month. If you're going to sew all day, every day, oil it every couple of days. If you only bring it out once in a long while to do a project or mend something, and it hasn't been oiled in 3 months, you should probably oil it before you start, because the oil does evaporate. And you want all of the parts to ride on a nice thin film of clean oil, so the parts can slip and slide and rotate on that oil instead of grinding against each other. And since you haven't used your machine in a while, you should oil it first, and it's not hard. You just there are oil holes here, but look in the manual at the oiling instructions, because not all of the holes are oil holes, and there are places that are not obvious that need to get a little bit of oil. You'll have to take off the faceplate, which is super simple. Let's see. To take off the faceplate, all you have to do is loosen this little screw here. A couple of turns. And then the faceplate just pulls right off. Your take-up lever has to be up. If it's in the down position, it kind of holds it in place. But slide it up a little bit in this little keyhole slot, and it just lifts right off. And then you'll see in your manual that there's some places in here to oil. You want to oil your needle bar that goes up and down. You want to put a drop of oil on your pressure bar. It goes up and down. And there are a couple places in there that the manual will show you. Then you put your face plate back on and tighten down the screw. There are some things on the underside that you'll want to oil. Each of these little places where the parts pivot, if you turn your hand wheel, you can see what moves. Each of these little spots is going to get a drop of oil. And there are a few oil holes. Each one of those will get 1 or 2 drops of oil. And just follow the instructions in the manual and oil it. And then if you have any messy oil left on the machine, you just daub it off with a Kleenex or napkin or something. And lastly, there's an inspection plate on the back, which is cool because they're usually decorated really awesome. I haven't had this one off yet. This machine just came out of the warehouse just for this demonstration. And it's going to go back in there until I get to it at some future date. I have some other things on the workbench right now, but inside here there are some important movement points, and it's easier to oil them through here than through the top holes, but also you can look in there while you're oiling through the top holes and make sure that you're touching all the right spots with your oil. So pretty simple to oil your machine. The motor on your machine, on most older motors, the shaft goes all the way through. There's the center shaft goes clear through, and you can see it at the back end. And at both ends of the shaft, it needs a drop of oil. On most motors, there's a little tiny oil hole here at either end of the motor. And I think that's about it. No gears or anything to grease. But you've got an awesome machine. It was made in Japan in the 1950s, and you just cannot buy a machine new that's as good as these old Japanese made machines. So yeah, real nice talking to you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you again soon. So happy sewing.